Hey guys, I'm Jimmy, or Haunted as I go by online. This is my first devlog for a solo game dev project, Midnight Manor, a single-player horror experience inspired by early 2000s retro games like Luigi's Mansion and Resident Evil. First off, I wanted to talk a bit about my gaming background and my inspirations throughout the years, and then I'll get into the actual vision for the game itself and my overall goal with this project. I'm a 30-year-old Canadian based out of Ontario, and gaming has been a part of my life for a long time. I have two older brothers who are also game fanatics, and they helped with forming my taste in games from a super early youth. Watching my brothers play games like Ocarina of Time on the N64, all the way to Resident Evil 4 on the PS2, definitely molded games into my interests early on. For actual game dev experience though, I originally started with Unreal Engine, but I dropped it pretty quickly due to not having any coding experience and blueprints being unbelievably hard to manage. After that experience with Unreal Engine, I figured game dev was a route that I had to give up on because of the complexity, but then Godot started showing up on my radar about a year ago now, and after experimenting with GDScript, it's been a very simple coding language to pick up, and I've learned a ton over the last year, to the point where I feel comfortable enough to tackle a demo at least, and that's how I ended up here. I've attempted projects throughout the last year with the goal of just finishing a game in order to learn. As many other beginner indie devs have probably experienced, I bit off more than I could chew countless times. I started with an FPS horror, but after getting to the point where the gun was functional, my code was so mangled, I'd have a better time defusing a bomb. I was proud of this project though. I learned a lot about shooter games on the back end and what scope creep truly meant. And if you repeat this process about 3 more times with less and less results each time, you get Midnight Manor. So that's how this project was born. My overall goal with this project specifically is to go back to basics. Just to finish a game. I don't want a crazy weapon system or like wall run mechanics or anything like that. I want this project's primary focus to be atmosphere and juice. Which brings me to the next topic. Luigi's Mansion for the Nintendo GameCube did irreparable damage to my psyche as a child. The cartoony yet still haunting vibe that the game has from start to finish is something I've been longing for since the last time I played it. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. Luigi's Mansion being the main inspiration for my game explains the two pillars, atmosphere and juice, that I mentioned earlier. The game just oozes atmosphere, like listen to this. And everything you interact with has some kind of juicy polish to it I can't describe. Like when you interact with furniture and Luigi kind of shakes it and the furniture animates like it's being controlled by a ghost or something. It all really leans into the spooky but goofy haunted house vibe that I absolutely adore. That feeling is what drives this project forward for me. I don't just want a bunch of copy-paste hallways with a PNG chasing you through the dark, or constant cycles of puzzles and chase sequences throughout the whole game. I want the player to feel like the manor itself is alive, and you're just like hoping the next corner doesn't have something waiting around it, you know what I mean? All while like thinking about what the next step is, like what you have in your inventory, what items you have, where to go next, you know? I started off with trying to emulate that interaction feel with some simple assets like a locked door that needs a key, and a small piece of furniture that holds said key. I was originally planning on having this Zelda-style lock system, but I think I'll add my own twist to it in the future, just so it isn't so on the nose. But I'm happy with how it turned out, especially the key spawning animation. Once that was working well enough, I started messing around with the enemy AI and pathfinding. I don't have an enemy model just yet, so I don't really know what should be haunting the manor, so here's a picture of my best friend Jason instead. The enemy basically patrols around set locations based on markers until it either hears a noise like an item dropping or visually sees the player. I don't have a jump scare or anything coded yet, so he kind of just like chest bumps you. But I have some cool ideas for post-death situations in the full game, but for a demo, I'll probably just have it cut to a game over screen or something. Following the AI, I did some coding procrastination by prototyping an intro cutscene to get like a refresher on canvas layers and stuff. And I think it looks pretty decent so far. I'd really like to have like a fully 3D intro, but this plane-based manor look is really interesting in 2D. Let me know what you think. Up next, I wanted to start laying the foundations for the actual map of the manor. And you're probably thinking, wow, Jimmy, you must have done the smart thing and did a block out of the level before committing to making any art, right? Wrong. You're just wrong. I wasted 3 days messing around with texturing and nitpicky Blender layouts before realizing my design was completely awful. Thankfully, with the help of this YouTube video by Grime, I learned the beauty of grid maps in Godot and made a pretty fluid map design after a few iterations. I also decided to do a rough pass on a potential item route for the game by taking a top-down screenshot of the manor and drawing the flow in Clip Studio Paint, just to see like high traffic areas and like potential enemy routes in the future. I couldn't wait until after the first rough art pass to test out the atmosphere, so I smacked in some basic lighting by attaching a light to the player and some fog. And after walking around the untextured manor, it's definitely spooky, but I'm sure after adding texture, audio, and fleshing out the details, it'll be even better. I also plan on adding a lean mechanic, so you could poke around corners to see if it's safe or not, but we haven't gotten there yet. I'm really trying to capture that whimsical type of cartoony horror with this project, like the old school games of my childhood. That feeling hasn't been around in very many games recently, and after consuming so much horror content throughout my life, I think I can do it justice. I really hope I can. If you want to follow along with the development of this project as it comes to life, feel free to stick around, and if you have any cool ideas you'd like to see in the game, like an enemy design or something, throw it in the comments and I'll check it out. I'll see you guys next time.